way. They had to, they had to live in their mother's stomach for 9 months, and they had to come out the same narrow canal like every single human being throughout history. By the way, Jesus Christ came into this world the exact same way. So you have to, and look, we're all going out the same way. So it is really determined by us what we do between that time of birth and that time of death. From the cradle to the grave, everything in between is up to us. And if you, in between those two historical points of time, think that you are not good enough to do something, then you have got to ask yourself why that is. Why would you even say that about yourself? You are a God. God created you. God does not create junk. He does not create trash. It is mankind that takes the gift and the beauty of God and turns it into trash. God does not create trash. You make it trash. But at the same time, you can take trash and make a beautiful work of art. So you can turn it around. I'm telling you, we can turn this country around. God didn't create a trashy United States. Americans made this country trashy. We can take that trash and make something absolutely beautiful again. So again, I'm telling you, if you think that all those people on Capitol Hill and in capitals and the 50 capitals across the country, state capitals across the country, are better than you, then you have better look at yourself and ask the question, why do you think that way? Because there's not a single person in this country that could not raise themselves up, educate themselves, become cognizant of the facts of everyday life to make themselves be a perfect fit for an elected office. There's not a single person. There are some new programs that I've seen being advertised, or I've seen in the recent past, even on about people that have Down syndrome. Now, the interesting thing about Down syndrome people is that many of them, sometimes it's hard to tell that they have Down syndrome because they're very capable. They're capable of living on their own, taking care of themselves. I've even seen a story about a person who's got Down syndrome. It's a mild case, yes, but Down syndrome, he owns $1 million business. So if a person with Down syndrome can think of themselves highly enough to start and own $1 million business, why the hell do you think that you're not good enough to do anything else? I'm just asking the question. Only you can answer that question. I could ask questions all day long, but only you can answer. But see, this is the reason why we get stuck with some of the elected officials that we get stuck with. Because people look at these so-called wonderful human beings and think, well, at least he's willing to do that. I could never do that. And I don't know why, I think of myself so low. If you think of yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, if you think that you're 1, then you're going to think that anybody who's above a 1 is worthy of election, of being elected. So what happens? This is something that social scientists have figured out. Now, I learned this in Sociology 101 and Psych 101 and 201 back in college. And it was true back then and it's true today. People undoubtedly and unconsciously tend to hang around people who are similar to them. Similar in many aspects of that person's life. Similar in economic gain. So in other words, if you make $30,000 a year, your best friend is most likely not going to be somebody who makes $600,000 a year. It's just not going to. Even if you went to high school together, you're going to grow apart. So birds of a feather tend to flock together. That is true. But there's something called levels of civilization, or levels of geez, now the word is escaped me, but class, levels of class. Each class. Even in this society, we have classes, societal classes. But people tend to hang around other people who are either in the same class as they are or no more than 2 degrees separate. So in other words, if you are, let me put it to you in terms that a lot of you can understand because everybody plays video games, levels. If you're at level 10 in your life, society, wherever you fit in, economics, whatever, all that kind of stuff. If you're at level 10, you are going to hang out with and be most comfortable with, so you think, with people who are level 10. And you will stretch yourself and be comfortable with hanging out with people from level 8 to level 12. You will not be comfortable with people at level 7 or below or level 13 and above. You won't hang out with them. And the reality is that your best... Now, I know this is going to be difficult to understand because you're thinking, well, how is that possible? The reality is, because you do have, generally speaking, human beings have low self-esteem and low self-worth. Your best friend, or the person that you are attracted to most, will tend to be one level below you. Now you're thinking, well, Rod, how is that possible? Because if I'm a level 10 and my best friend's level 9, well, he's hanging out with somebody who's above me. I understand that. But understand how the human mind works. Because you think so lowly of yourself, it makes you feel better to hang around somebody who you think that you're at least equal to or better than. Understand what I'm saying? Which is why that we as a people, and it's not just Americans, it's worldwide, which is why we as a people are so easily manipulated by the political class. Because we tend to think that if they're running for office, high, powerful office, they've got to be better than me. And if I'm at level 10, they've got to be at least a level 13 or 14. The reality is a lot of those elected officials, if you're at 10, they're at 5. I kid you not. So you cannot put these people up on a pedestal. That includes the people like Barack Obama. He's not better than any of us. If the average American is at level 10, I'm telling you right now, Barack Hussein Obama is a level 5. Plain and simple. Which means that if he's a level 5, all we have to do to get better is to elect a level 6. You understand that? And you're already a level 10, so guess who's better than Obama? So I don't want to hear anybody else ever say, well, these people, they're qualified to do this. BS. It is not about political qualifications. It's about human being qualifications. Now, for that, current people in office or running for office can be a dismal failure. Hillary Clinton is a miserable human being. She's not qualified for public office simply because she's a miserable human being. Not because she doesn't have political acumen, which she really doesn't, but that's not the reason why she should be disqualified to be president. She's a miserable human being. That disqualifies her. Because if she's a miserable human being, just like Barack Obama, she's going to be a miserable and terrible president. You cannot have a miserable, lousy, failing human being become a successful leader of men. It just isn't going to happen. They will fail every single time. History has proven it. Every time you've had a leader who's been a miserable failure of a human being, they have been a terrible leader. They've been a dictator. They've been a tyrant. They've been a failure as a leader. That's something that people are going to have to understand as we get through this electoral process this year. Because things are ramping up. And we're trying to figure out who we want to lead us. Well, how about you figure out how to lead yourself first? Because if you know where you want to go, if you know who you want to be, it is going to be a lot easier for you to figure out who's going to be able to help you get there. And that's what leaders do. Leaders help others become better. Now, I want you to, I want to ask liberals, especially, has Barack Hussein Obama helped anybody but himself be better? Now, honestly, and don't even think about his name. Just think about all the action that has happened over the past 7 or 8 years. Think about everything that has happened in this country and everything that has happened to American citizens and non-American citizens who are here legally or illegally. Everybody in the United States. Have people gotten better? Or have they gotten worse? Now, it doesn't really matter who's at the helm. I don't care how much you may idolize Barack Obama. It's irrelevant. What is relevant is the actuality of the reality. I know some people are saying, what the hell did he just say? What is actuality of the reality? In other words, it's time to get real and just look at the facts. There's nothing else that counts. Doesn't matter what you and I believe. Doesn't matter what you and I want to believe. It doesn't matter what you and I want to be true. The only thing that counts is the actuality of the reality, which means the actual and real facts, whether we like them or not. The facts are Barack Hussein Obama is a miserable failure of a human being and a miserable failure for president. And nobody in this country, well, I can't say nobody, very few people in this country are better off today than they were when he took office. Very few. Well, that's a sign of a failure. And it's a sign of a failure because he's a miserable failure of a human being. Where you actually look at somebody like Ken Griffey Jr., who's just been elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it doesn't appear that Ken Griffey Jr. is a miserable failure of a human being. And thus he's beloved by millions of baseball fans around the globe. Was he the best baseball player in history? No. Was he a good to great baseball player? Yes. But it was who he was as a person that really makes him shine. I'm acting like he's dead. I don't know. Ken Griffey's not dead. He's still alive, right? That's why I said he was cute. Had nothing to do with his looks because it's all about his personality. Now, I don't care if people think that Barack Obama is a good-looking, facially looking, good-looking man or not. The man is ugly. He's not cute at all. He's an ugly human being. And people have got to learn how to differentiate that. It's not about what you see in front of, it's not about the visual aspect. There's speaking of levels, if you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, you make characters, and characters' attributes, personal attributes, are based on the roll of a dice and numbers. And one of those things is how does a person, how does that character really look to other people? If it's a 20, that means they're absolutely beautiful and they're mesmerizing. 1, they're, hideous, ugly, that kind of thing. So I use this type of stuff to try to, because everybody's into games nowadays. So hopefully people will understand exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to understanding levels. Don't think that somebody else is better than you. Because in reality, they're probably not. Numbers don't lie.